The restaurant had that kind of quiet warmth you don't see much anymore, the kind that reminded people of slower evenings, when conversations mattered more than phones, and time didn't seem to rush anyone along. Soft amber lights reflected off polished wood. Gentle music drifted through the air, something old, something familiar. The kind of tune that made you think of Sunday dinners, pressed shirts, and laughter that lingered just a little longer than necessary. Clara moved carefully between the tables. She was young, maybe mid-20s, with her dark hair neatly tied back in a simple bun. Her uniform was crisp, though her hands carried the faint nervousness of someone still finding her place in the world. She had kind eyes, the kind that noticed when someone needed an extra moment, or a quiet refill of water without asking. Clara wasn't loud. She didn't try to stand out. She simply did her work, gently, respectfully, the way her grandmother had once taught her. Always greet people like they matter, her grandmother used to say in a soft, accented voice. Because they do. That evening felt ordinary at first. Until the door opened. A hush moved through the room, not loudly, not dramatically, but enough that people noticed. Two men stepped inside. The younger one carried himself with quiet control, tailored suit, strong posture, a face that had seen more than it said. There was something guarded in his eyes, something protective. A faint tattoo traced along his neck, partially hidden beneath his collar. Beside him walked an older man. He moved more slowly, with a cane in hand, his shoulders slightly bent with age. His silver hair was neatly combed, and dark glasses rested on his face. But there was dignity in him, a quiet strength that hadn't faded with the years. This was not a man people ignored. The younger man guided him carefully, almost instinctively, like someone who had spent years learning how to protect what mattered most. They were seated at a table near the center. Clara noticed them immediately. Not because of who they were, she didn't know that. But because of how they were. The younger man stayed alert, watching everything, the room, the staff, the exits. But when he leaned toward the older man, his voice softened, just slightly, just enough to reveal something different underneath. Something human. Clara took a small breath, steadying herself, and approached their table. She wasn't used to tables like this. Not because of wealth, but because of presence. Still, she remembered her grandmother's words. Always greet people like they matter. She stepped closer, hands gently folded near her apron, and spoke softly. Good evening, sir. The younger man glanced up quickly, his eyes sharp, assessing. But Clara wasn't looking at him. She was looking at the older man. And then, almost without thinking, something old and familiar rose in her voice. Something she hadn't used in years. A dialect, soft, warm, carrying the echoes of another place, another time. Buonasera, signori, come si senti stasera? The words settled into the air like a memory. For a moment. Everything stopped. The younger man's expression changed instantly, his posture tightening. Nearby conversations faded. A fork paused halfway to someone's mouth. Even Clara realized, a second too late, what she had just done. Her cheeks flushed slightly, her hands tightening together. I'm sorry, she said quickly, her voice small now. I didn't mean. But the older man didn't move. He sat very still. And then, slowly, his lips parted. Come disisti, he asked softly. His voice carried age, but also something else. Recognition. Clara swallowed gently. She hesitated, then repeated it, quieter this time. Buonasera, signori, come si senti stasera? The older man's hand trembled slightly against his cane. And then, something unexpected happened. He smiled. Not a polite smile. Not a practiced one. But a real one, the kind that comes from somewhere deep inside, from places most people don't get to see. It's been many years, he said slowly, his voice thick with emotion. Since I've heard that, spoken like that. The younger man leaned in slightly, confusion crossing his face. What did she say? He asked. The older man didn't answer right away. He kept his gaze on Clara. You speak like, my village, he said. Like, home. Clara felt her shoulders relax, just a little. My grandmother, she explained softly. She used to speak that way. She taught me when I was little, said it was important not to forget where kindness comes from. The room remained quiet. Not out of fear, but out of something else now. Respect. The younger man leaned back slightly, studying Clara again, but differently this time. Less guarded. More curious. The older man gestured gently toward the empty chair beside the table. "Would you sit a moment?" he asked. Clara hesitated. She wasn't supposed to. But something in his voice, something gentle and familiar, made her pause. Just for a second. She glanced around, then carefully sat at the edge of the chair. The older man looked at her as though seeing something long lost. "My mother," he said slowly, "used to greet me like that, every evening. No matter how late I came home." His fingers tightened slightly around his cane. She would say those words, and for a moment, everything felt right again. Clara listened quietly. She didn't interrupt. Didn't rush. She simply sat, the way people used to sit, fully present. The younger man's expression softened. He had never seen his father like this. Not in a long time. "People forget," the older man continued, his voice steady but warm, "how powerful simple words can be when they are spoken with care." Clara nodded gently. "My grandmother used to say, 'Language isn't just words,'" she said. "It's how we carry love forward, even when people are gone." The older man closed his eyes briefly. And when he opened them again, there was a quiet shine in them. "You reminded me, tonight," he said softly, "of something I thought I had lost." A silence followed. But it wasn't empty. It was full of memory, of meaning, of something shared between strangers who didn't feel like strangers anymore. After a moment, Clara stood gently. "I'll bring you some tea," she said softly. "On the house." The younger man opened his mouth, perhaps to refuse, out of habit, out of pride. But the older man raised his hand slightly. "Let her," he said. Clara smiled, just a little, and walked away. When she returned, she didn't rush. She placed the cups carefully, poured slowly, the soft sound of tea filling porcelain adding to the calm of the moment. No one spoke loudly anymore. The restaurant had changed. Not because of who had walked in, but because of how someone had chosen to greet another human being. Before they left, the older man reached into his coat. He placed something small on the table. Not money. Just a folded piece of paper. "For you," he said. Clara hesitated, then accepted it. After they had gone, after the quiet hum of the restaurant slowly returned, she unfolded it. Inside was a simple note. "Kindness, spoken in the language of the heart, never fades. Thank you for bringing me home, even for a moment." Clara held the paper gently. And for the rest of the evening, she moved a little slower, smiled a little softer, and greeted every guest just a little more warmly. Because sometimes, it's not grand gestures that change a room. It's a few gentle words, spoken with care, at just the right moment.